Councillor Perks to speak.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I want to address the two motions that are in front of us, Councillor Mihevic's and Councillor Wong-Tam's. I agree with some of the comments that have been made about concerns with Councillor Mihevic's motion. Reviewing the list and adding the list and going and picking favorites and all of that, I think is an unnecessary delay. However, I want to draw your attention to something critical in what Councillor Wong-Tam has put before you. And perhaps a way to explain it is to remind you all of a report we're having a little bit later on the Gardiner Expressway. If you will recall, the federal government had a funding program that said if we went through a certain number of screens and did a certain number of things, we would be eligible for the P3 money on the Gardiner. And we very diligently did that. It cost us 2 years' work, many debates here, talking to the province, getting the paperwork right to meet the P3 screen. We walk along, we march along, we're out into the woods with the federal government, they're going to help us, and then, oh no, they didn't help us, and we're out $800 million. A similar thing is emerging with this notion of the Federal Infrastructure Bank, but it's actually even worse. A new party, a new partner, if you will, is going to enter into how the federal government does or does not provide funding to municipal projects. And it's going to make our application process at least as difficult as with the federal government as it has been, but it's going to add another problem. Because there is now a private partner who has to get a return on investment for the particular infrastructure programs that we make the deal, we might very well be in a position where we have to impose an additional user fee, say extra tolls on something or an extra rate on picking up garbage should the Federal Infrastructure Fund help us build a landfill someday, or maybe something extra on the water rate if they help us with water infrastructure. And the only purpose of that user fee would be satisfying the higher rate of return that the private investor needs than what we could get for our own debenture issue. And what has that private partner brought to the table? Had they brought new construction and engineering expertise? No. Had they brought design expertise? No. Have they consulted the public? No. Have they brought planning expertise? No. All they have brought is money. We're just paying extra interest to people who already have money so that we can build infrastructure, because the federal government's unprepared to raise income taxes and we're unprepared to have a large enough budget to support the debentures on our own dime. We don't know whether that's going to be the case or not, because we haven't clearly had how the infrastructure bank will operate spelled out, and we haven't had clearly spelled out whether or not we can opt in or out, or whether that adds extra process to our application for federal money. And that's why we need to have staff report back to us when it has been made clear how that Federal Infrastructure Bank will work, so that we can make sure that it works for us and we don't wind up, as we will later today, with an $800 million hole and or a higher set of user fees on Torontonians as we try to build critical infrastructure. So Councillor Wong-Tam's motion is not only reasonable, it's essential if we're doing our due diligence to provide the best services to the City of Toronto at the lowest price. Thank you.
Thank you.